Good day, everyone. Welcome to our subject, Comparative Education or Educ 613, with our professor, Dr. Teresa Cortez. Hi, Doc. Have a good day to you. I am Melanie, and I will be discussing to you my assigned topic. So please lend me your time so that you will know and understand the content of my report from the beginning up until the end of my video. So here we go. Let's talk about my topic, which is the correspondence education in the Republic of Korea. Welcome to the Republic of Korea, or shall I say Annyeonghaseyo. This report is intended to provide a brief historical picture of the correspondence education in the Republic of Korea only for the first decade, that was 1972 up until 1982, and there will be other endeavors related to correspondence during this period. And for us to understand deeply the history, let us try to know first what is correspondence education. What is the meaning of correspondence education? Correspondence education is a formal education process under which the institutions provide instructional materials through mail or electronic transmission. It is a method of distance learning. Another thing, correspondence education is an independent mode of education which does not require a real-time interaction between students and teachers. In the learning style, it is where instructors sends the instructional materials, including examinations, while the student can study at home, receive the exam paper, and sends back assignments by post. Now let's talk more about the correspondence education in Korea. Did you know that in Korea there are a number of terms referring to practices which differ in some way from the traditional school systems, such as open education, distance education, informal education, preschool, and many others? They differ from each other in terms of implication and emphasis, but what they have in common is the goal to be achieved, and that is broadening and extending educational opportunities for people at all levels in a way that cannot be attained by traditional school systems. Now, when was correspondence education in the Republic of Korea started? Based on my research, it appears to begin in the Republic of Korea around the year 1930. That was when the radio facilities were introduced for the first time in this country. And speaking of distance education, it began in 1972 when the Korean National Open University, or KNOU, was established and continued until 1983. The growing demand for trained manpower by rapid industrialization in the latter part of the 1960s and the subsequent accumulation of wealth through economic development were crucial factors for Korean educators and administrators to seek ways to increase educational opportunities. What about the historical origin of correspondence education in the Republic of Korea? Well, if correspondence education is defined as the organized effort to send instruction on certain topics by way of the written or printed word, its origin in Korean history is untraceable. Now, the distance education sector in Korea has progressed since the 1970s with increasing equity for higher education opportunities. But if correspondence education is a method of distance learning, are there any development stages made by the Ministry of Education in Korea? To answer that, yes, absolutely yes. There are four major stages of distance education in Korea. 1. Introductory stage. 2. Expansion stage. 3. Rapid growth stage. 4. Globalization stage. And to understand them better, let us discuss them one by one. First, we have introductory stage. This began in 1972 when the Korean National Open University, or KNOU, was established. It was marked by correspondence education using postal services and mass communication by means of radio and television. During this period, terms such as correspondence education and open education were used within the KNOU establishment. Next is the expansion stage. This was the period between 1984 and 1994 when distance education via radio television was widely used. During this period, the term distance education emerged. So, the Korea Distance Education Association was launched in 1990, followed by the first publication of its journal, which set the stage for research into distance education. Next, the rapid growth stage. This was the period from 1995, that was when the internet emerged, to 2009, with explosive growth of opportunities for alternative higher education using computers at the latest digital technologies. And this is when the Ministry of Education in Korea and the KERIS, or Korea Education and Research Information, led the rapid growth of distance education by launching the Korean Multimedia Education Center in 1997 and assisting traditional universities to introduce virtual campuses. Lastly is the globalization stage. This was the period between 2009 and today, during which distance education institutions and traditional universities, led by the government, contribute to society by offering distance education content, thus expanding educational opportunities. In addition to, in terms of delivery media, the period marks the expansion from using the PC-based internet access, or what we know as computer-based access, to mobile devices. This period enables learning to take place in ever more accessible learning spaces. So these were the four stages that was developed by the Ministry of Education in the Republic of Korea to aim higher educational system. Now, with the existence of those stages developed by the Ministry of Education, is correspondence education still used in the Republic of Korea? Well, correspondence education is still used. However, the Ministry of Education of Korea implemented higher educational system which aims to develop students' personality, teach and research the profound theories of science and arts necessary for the development of the nation and human society, that was based on Article 28 of the Higher Education Act of the Ministry of Education of Korea. Now, out of those higher educational system, how does it help the Ministry of Education in Korea? Well, for the information of everybody, in 2017, the World Top 20 Education Poll that ranks the world's best education systems captured Korea as the #1 spot for the fourth consecutive year. Again, captured Korea as the #1 spot for the fourth consecutive year. Even with Japan closing the gap by 7 points, it looks like Korea still, particularly South Korea, would be the #1 in the coming year. So, just imagine how effective their educational system being developed by the Ministry of Education. So, that's all for my report, guys. And thank you for watching and listening. That's all, and I do hope that you get a clear ideas and understandings in regard to my topic. Once again, thank you for watching and listening, and God bless. More power. Melanie is now signing off.